Well, shooters and reloaders, it's Fortune Cookie 45LC coming to you from the hot lead zone. And you know how it is when YouTube is kind of like really down on reloading videos. And it's a good thing that all of you really know the basics of reloading already. If you don't, you can just go ahead and read the reloading manuals. They'll tell you. Let's see if we can do something today that'll give you some information that you haven't heard of that you can apply to your reloading. What I'm doing is I'm sorting my brass according to neck thickness. Now, all these 25-06 cases have been sized to create a plus .003 headspace for my bolt action rifle. What that means is that it is actually .002 over my chamber, which is a +1 chamber. So these are all 2000s over headspaced for my chamber. What that means is when I put the loaded round into the chamber and close the bolt will be able to cam that round closed in the chamber, so we'll go into battery. But we'll wind up with what's called a case jam. The case will jam up against the front of the shoulder, caused by the pressure of the bolt face against the back of the cartridge. As that's being chambered, it jams it into the chamber right up against the shoulder. And by doing that, we're going to have good concentricity of the case in the chamber. In other words, the case will not lie against the bottom of the chamber. It'll be forced into the axis of the chamber by the pressure. And therefore, if we have unevenness here or in the body of the case, doesn't matter. We used to go ahead and check the body for runout, but no need if we're going to do case jamming. So all these cases are giving me the case jam that I want. Now I want to go ahead and sort according to the neck thickness. Because if I load low runout ammo with the case jam, then that bullet's going to be lined up to get into the rifling nice and square and flush. But that won't happen if my necks are not the same evenness. We can get the center opening to be concentric with the Lee Collet neck sizing die, but the outside may not be concentric if the neck thickness is not even. So let's go ahead and check. We'll use the Necco concentricity gauge set up to determine neck thickness uniformity. What we want is runout of the neck thickness uniformity to be 2000s less, actually less than 2000s, between 1 and 2000s. That would give us a good level of uniformity. So these are 1000s or less. These are 2000s or less, and those over there are greater, up to 4000s, 3000s, 4000s out of uniformity. And these I haven't checked yet, so let's go ahead and check one. We'll put it in the gauge. So the way it works is you put the case in here and brace it up into the, it's hard to do with the camera in the way. Okay, so you see the pointer is right at the neck, just a little bit above the shoulder. Now, we want to watch the deflection of that gauge up there. Let's give you a close-up. So let's put the case in, and you see the gauge is right there. Now we'll go ahead and start turning this case. We'll go ahead and start turning this case, and you can see the amount. There's 2000s. there's 3 thousandths, there's 4 thousandths. You see that? That's not a very good case. This case is not very uniform thickness in the neck. This will give you flyers in your shot. Here's another one. When you have uniformity problems in your neck, the bullet release will not be consistent. And so even though you've got a bullet that's lined up with the rifling perfectly square and it's being held that way, right up in the moment right up at the moment when the round fires and the bullet is released, the release is not uniform because of the neck thickness not being uniform. Now look at this one. The way you read this gauge is you find the lowest point there, and then you turn the case in the gauge until the highest point drops off, and you read the lowest to the highest. There's 1 thousandths, 2 thousandths, 3 thousandths, and it bounces off and goes back down. So you're looking at over 3 thousandths, another bad one. Let's check a third one. Okay, it's in. There's the lowest point there, the halfway mark. There's 1 thousandths, 1.5 thousandths, and then it bounces back. So this one's not bad. This is about 1.5 thousandths. Now this Necco gauge is a good one, but you'll have to check. The Necco company is still in business, but I don't know if they're making this gauge anymore. No problem, because companies like RCBS and Sinclair and Forster and Hornady all make concentricity gauges that you can use. Now make sure that it'll measure neck wall thickness and you're in business. So here's what we found. 5 of them that are good, 3 that are medium, and then all of those, 8 of them were bad. And that's out of 16 cases. If you got half of them are bad, then what's that going to do to your groups and the flyers that you might have from this? We need to eliminate this problem from our precision reloads. And so here's how we can do that. Now, bench rest shooters will turn their necks. But if you do that, you wind up with your neck being thinner and you don't really uniform the whole thing. You just take down the high spots. Well, that works real well for a custom chamber, a custom rifle. But what do you do for our factory rifles? And here's what we can do. Get yourself a Lee Neck Size Collet die. And these are not expensive. They're like $26, somewhere around there. In fact, you might want to buy calibers of rifles that Lee makes the Lee Neck Size Collet die for. If your rifle is a caliber that Lee doesn't make this die for, you might consider not going with that caliber. Lee makes these dies for a lot of calibers. Okay, so what you do, you set it up according to Lee's recommendations, which I normally don't go all the way to 25 pounds. But yes, set it up for 25 pounds. Take one of your cases. Now this is one of the bad ones. This is one of the bad ones. It's like 3 or 4 thousandths uniformity error right here on the neck. So put that in. You don't need case lube. And you're going to have to feel some fair amount of resistance right here. This is where the collet's engaging. And it takes about 25 pounds of pressure to push that down. And again, it's hard to do with the camera in the way. I don't want to hit the camera. So there you go. Now what I like to do is go ahead and release the pressure and then double it. Double pump this. Then take the case down and give it about a 1/6 turn. And then repeat. This doesn't take long. So double pump it like that. Then rotate again, another 1/6 turn. And double pump that again. what you're doing is you're making the neck concentric to the axis of the case because the collet's squeezing on a mandrel that's centered in the case by the flash hole. Double pump again. And at the same time, the squeezing of the collet is uniforming the brass in the neck so that you wind up with a outside of the neck is concentric with the inside opening of the neck. And then everything is concentric with the center axis of the case. This sure beats turning your brass. Was that 6 times? I like to do 6 times. So in other words, 1/6 of a turn, double pump, all the way around 6 times. I think that was 6 times. Okay, here's the case we just did. And it goes from, there's the high at 2. And it drops down to just a little bit, there's 0. There's 0. To just over 2. That's a lot better than 4/1000ths. Here's the next one of our bad ones. Put it in. And then let's see what we got here. We improved that one to just over 1. That's not bad. Okay, so here's one that we just did. Let's put it in. And now we want to go ahead and read the low to the high, so let's get it stable. Right at 0. And it comes up and bounces off 0 to just over 2. Here's one of the 2000s when we first sorted. I don't expect this to really improve. That looks like it's less than 2000s now. Okay, here's another of the 2000s ones that was fresh out of the press. Again, I don't expect this to improve. Look at that. That's amazing. That's less than 1/1000th. So here's what happened. We eliminated all the bad ones, and now these are all good, and these are good, but these are even a little better than good. So shooters and reloaders out there, if you want to have a uniform case necks without doing all that turning, this is a viable option. Bye for now.